What's up, YouTube? Welcome back in another video on the versatility, the awesomeness of the chest fly. Before we move on, don't forget to subscribe. Give me a comment, give me a like, share it. If you think there's somebody out there that has benefit, give me a comment on maybe a suggestion of another exercise, a deep dive we can go into. All right, enough of that sales crap. Let's get into the real stuff, the stuff that I love to talk about. Now, let's say that for the sake of this video, you have been working on your cable fly for some time. You have a variation that you connect really well with. You've been getting stronger in it. You feel like your contractions have been getting better. You've been setting PR after PR after PR. And then all of a sudden, for the last couple of workouts, last month or so, or maybe more, you're stuck. You don't know what to do. You're getting frustrated. Should I do the muscle confusion thing? Should I add variety to my training? I'm going to say, no, don't do that. There's ways around that. There's really ways through that. And we have to get more specific about why. Why are we here? What's the benefit? Let's exploit some kind of weakness there, master that weakness, and then all of a sudden, I'm going to get stronger, or I'm going to get more repetition. So all the things that we talk about with progressive overload that matter, more reps and more weight, it's not quite that easy. And the more efficient you get, the more skilled you get, the more actual training age that you get, the harder it's going to be for you to set PR. So you're going to have to get more specific with your why. In any kind of fly, but specifically in this cable fly, we are here to get the chest, no matter the angle that you choose, to a fully stretched position. For an example's sake here, I have this set up in a flat fly position. So a fully stretched position for the pecs is the humerus as far away from the sternum in this case. So we're looking for this position. I can't possibly pull that insertion point any further away from the origin. Dot A, dot B. Fully stretched pec. That's what the fly does in this case. The other icing on the cake to that is in most cable apparatuses, most functional trainers, whatever you want to call them, the cable setting is usually this wide, maybe a little wider, maybe slightly narrower. But when it's like this, what it's doing is it's applying a significant amount of load in that fully stretched position. How do you know how much load it's putting in that spot? Well, essentially, a really kind of simple, fundamental way of knowing is feel it, okay? But also, if you want to be more specific, wherever that cable kind of makes a 90-degree angle with my pecs. So right about in that spot right there is where it makes kind of like a 90-degree angle, excuse me, not with my pecs, but with my hand, it's applying the most resistance. That's an easy way for you to know, like, where's there an overload and where there's a drop-off. So if I ever say that, that's because I'm looking at the resistance in the profile and kind of relatively comparing it to the pecs. So let's review. We have the pecs getting into a fully stretched position, and then we have the hardest part of the exercise being in that stretched position. As that cable and that handle gets closer and closer to my fully short position, it's getting more and more light from a resistance standpoint. Still resistance there, but there is a drop off in that load with this cable setup. And I will show you in a later video how you can add versatility to the width of this functional trainer or your distance to and from the functional trainer, but that's another time, and how that will completely change the way the exercise feels to extend the set. So, again, let's go and review here. I've been doing this for a while. I've plateaued. I'm frustrated. I want to get rid of the exercise. Don't do that. Everybody's biased on a way to bust plateaus. Plateau busters. It doesn't mean more repetitions. It doesn't mean more sets. It doesn't mean less sets. It means spending time where the exercise has its biggest benefit. From a strength and output standpoint, your pecs are going to continue to progress when you get to a spot and master the spot where it's hardest. It's going to give it more of an overwhelming stimulus, and it's going to respond to that stimulus by getting stronger there to protect itself. That's what muscle building is all about. That's what strength is all about in a sense, okay? So the way that I would approach it is doing two different things. I would spend more time where the exercise is hardest. It's going to be in that stretched extreme in this case, and it's going to be where it's most loaded. So I have double bang for my buck there. I have my pecs getting into a weak position, and I have the most load in that spot. So it's going to be super overwhelming. And then I'm going to spend pauses in the set there. 2 to 3 seconds. So let's do an example here, all right? Everything from an alignment standpoint is where it should be. We talked about that in the previous video. Let's say I'm doing 6 repetitions with a 3-second pause. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. I'm not just hanging out there, I'm being really, really active. And the reason why I chose 6 is because maybe I've been failing with normal repetitions like so at 10 reps, okay? So now, 3-second pauses, more time spent where there's the biggest bang for my buck, and I'm getting more of an overwhelming stimulus rather than just having this aimless movement back and forth from point A to point B. I have more purpose to the exercise. It's got more of a defined why. Now let's say I've just finished my 6 repetitions. I'm going to make it even worse. So I'm going to add a 30-second or 60-second or 90-second isometric hold, maybe with a little bit shorter lever in that fully stretched position. Just holding, contracting, keeping my pecs active, trying to squeeze those things, trying not to let those shoulder joints get soft or unstable. Holding, okay? And already they're like, I'm starting to work up a sweat with just 10 pounds. Now, what exactly is happening here? We have an exercise that gets our pecs stretched. We have an exercise that's really hard in the stretch position. Training is more than just reps and weight. There has to be more specificity. And if you feel like you're getting to a plateau, you need to spend time experimenting with what's the part of the exercise that I usually cheat out of. That's usually the hardest part. And if I become a master of that, if I spend more time where it's uncomfortable, my body is naturally, from a neurological and coordination standpoint, going to find a way to protect that joint. And the way that it does so is it makes the muscles around that joint that act on that joint, that are directly loaded around that joint, in this case, the pecs, it's going to make them work harder. And as they work harder, they're going to demand more. And since they demand more, you're going to get more output. And then ultimately, the equation to that, or the step-by-step process, is a stronger pec. Okay, so it's really not that hard. It's not that challenging. This is honestly a really foolproof way that I still to this day use for myself. If I break out and can't do more than 8 repetitions, okay, next week we're going to do 2-second pauses and we're going to do 6 reps. And I'm going to add isometric, whether it's lighter weight and it just starts at 30 seconds, that's where my starting point is. And then I progress that. And then ultimately, if I stick to that for 4 to 6 weeks, and I go back to those normal repetitions that I was doing previous to me having that plateau, I break through that plateau, I'm already stronger. Like, what happened? Because I gave more of a defined purpose to this fly, in this case, the cable fly. So hopefully that helps, guys. Get in, experiment. You don't have to exactly do it the way that I do it, but it is a very effective, even more so, hard and fun way to do your chest flies.